All right, welcome to this week's weekly recap and outlook. This week is actually going to be really interesting. If you want to learn from this week, definitely stick around till the end because there's going to be a lot of valuable information. Starting out the week, we had a bullish expansion week. This is when the market opens, we get a push down into a key level, and then the entire week we go up. Now, a lot of the time, this normally happens on a Tuesday, but sometimes this can happen on a Monday. And so it's important to also note the higher time frame was bullish. So we'll look at that in a second. But first, I just want to go over how we pushed into this key level here. So this is a 1 hour or higher key level. That's what this 1 hour PDA stands for. And so the 1 hour key level that I noticed was we had this breaker. This is the highest up close candle before the move down that swept out all these lows. Here you can see we swept out this low. You can see we swept out this low. So this was the clear manipulation move, right? So we sweep out all this sell side. We come back up, come back higher. We get SMT on Friday before the week starts. And then we have this highest up close candle. That is a breaker block. Drag that over. You can mark this out as the series, or you can mark it out as the highest one. Either way works. And you can see how we are holding this breaker block. So the week opens, we get a manipulation into this breaker block, and since we are so bullish, this was as far down as the market wanted to go. And this was the 1 hour key level that the market found support at. So you can see that here. The market will push into that 1 hour key level and distribute the rest of the week through Friday to that to whatever the target is. The first immediate target after we pushed into this was our manipulation. You can see we were also within discount, right? So that we were below the weekly open. The first target was actually this new week opening gap right here. See how we hit this, and that was that first take profit. You'll note that if I measure out standard deviations of this, the 2 to 2.5 was also right at this new day opening gap. So I found that really, really interesting. So you can see how it's not really black and white. You have to use everything together to form a story, right? The market isn't gonna be okay, it's going to do the exact same thing every time. You have to use all of your resources to figure out what's really going on. So as well here, you'll note that this final move down is actually like a giant order block. Actually, it becomes a little bit more clear that this is a breaker on the 2 hour. You see how this 2 hour breaker held a little bit better, right? But also this final move down, so you remember I made a video about this, how a lower time frame breaker is a higher time frame order block. So this 2 hour breaker is essentially a 4 hour order block because we get this giant move down. So the top of this I would consider to be an order block, this high right here, since this is a final move down that takes out all these lows. So we get a push down into this order block and breaker block and fair value gap, right? And with this SMT right here, and knowing the higher time frame is bullish, you can expect that this is going to be a bullish expansion week to the upside. So now let's talk about, actually first we'll measure out the standard deviations again, and you can see that first target was that new day opening gap, and then eventually we hit this 4 to 4.5, which overlapped with this weekly distribution level. Another target that was a clear target was all-time highs, and we did hit that in the middle of the week. The market moves from internal range liquidity to external range liquidity. So IRL, so this was a IRL to ERL play, right? IRL to ERL. And then we got to push down back into, in this case, this was a 4 hour fair value gap. So once we get a push back into this 4 hour fair value gap, we react off of it. And then we're going to move from IRL back to ERL. So on the lower time frame, you have to find your lower time frame entry, because off of this 4-hour fair value gap, this is a lower time frame buy model. So you have to find your lower time frame entry within the IRL to ERL higher time frame move, right? So that's the idea with this. This is a buy model here, and then within this you find a lower time frame entry. I think that I actually got a trade here actually. This was a really good trade. I got a trade in here. I got a trade right here. I'm actually proud of this one. This one was good. So we get a quick reaction off of this low, push back higher. So this signature and price is what you want to see when a breaker block forms, right? So quick reaction off of this low. Since we get that quick reaction and then push higher, and since this was a 4-hour fair value gap, this gave me conviction to have this breaker overlapping with this fair value gap to be a good entry, right? So with that, you could have entered and simply targeted. You had equal highs here. Equal highs here. Now you could have targeted the equal highs. I simply targeted. We had the midnight open in here somewhere, but I simply targeted the midnight open because I didn't know if we were gonna make it past that. We ended up going up to those equal highs, so this would have worked out. Anyway, we're supposed to be reviewing the week, so we'll go back to the week. But you can see that this was a nice IRL to ERL play. We had within this you could have found a entry possibly even on the 15-minute, right? Or you get a 15-minute change of state of delivery. Here's that 15-minute CASD. And maybe you enter off the retest of this 15-minute CASD delivering from this 4-hour fair value gap. And you can see that we do continue higher and get a move to our external range liquidity and our 4 to 4.5 standard deviation. So on that retest of that 15-minute CASD, boom. Now you know the market's drawing up towards this weekly distribution level, and then also all-time highs, wherever those were, right here. So it's pretty cool how you can use the higher time frame to frame these lower time frame ideas. And then you're probably asking or wondering how could you for sure know that this week was going to be bullish? Well, that's where we go on the even higher time frame and talk about what happens. So on the daily chart, you'll note that we had actually SMT at these lows here. Boom, like that. And then we were reacting off of the midpoint of this order block. Check this out. That's a perfect reaction off of that midpoint. So that's pretty crazy. And then as well, this is a BPR here. So boom, boom, BPR. And then this is a breaker as well. This low, high, lower, low, higher, high. You could drag this over. And you can see the market does end up respecting this breaker as well. And then we also got an SMT here. So this was another SMT we got. Let me double check that that's correct. Yeah, so we got SMT here. So a lot of time when you can combine higher time frame SMTs with lower time frame SMTs. So we got this SMT, and then when we got this lower time frame one, I believe this was the lower time frame one, right? So this SMT, this was an SMT, right? Yeah. So this SMT, when you get a higher time frame SMT and a lower time frame SMT, this is like the ultimate bread and butter for a expansion move to the upside, right? So we got a higher time frame SMT, a lower time frame SMT, and then we get our reaction off of our levels, and the rest is history. We then go expand, have our bullish classic expansion week to the upside to hit our weekly distribution level. You can see we hit that very we hit that basically perfectly right here. Profit taking happens here, and then we even expand even higher past the weekly distribution. You can see this was just like a very bullish week, right? But using all that information, you could have figured out that this week was probably going to be bullish. And yes, you had this BPR here, but you had this bearish BPR here. But it's important to understand, like, as the market gives you new information, to take a new stance. And we were still holding all of these bullish levels. We were also holding there was a new week opening gap here that we were holding. And so as the market gives you new information, be able to adapt. We got those SMTs. We started holding more levels. You can see we actually held this bottom of this move right here. That was actually a 4-hour order block right here. So we had that 4-hour order block SMT here. So you can see, if you can just do your analysis properly, you can get really high conviction trades because you'll be trading like within a higher time frame model within a lower time frame model, right? So boom, push into that 4-hour level, then we continue higher. That covers about most of it, but yeah, we do get this classic expansion week to the upside. Remember, internal range liquidity to external range liquidity. Same thing with this fair value gap here from on Thursday. We got this fair value gap here on the 6-hour. And within that, we got two different SMTs. We got SMT here. So since we're in an uptrend, right, we can still expect, we watch to see if these SMTs play out, and they do, and we start to see a change to delivery higher. At this point, we can assume, okay, the market is still bullish. So we're probably going to go from IRL. We're probably going to go from IRL to ERL. So we get a move from this fair value gap to go run these highs. So you can see, you can get some really high conviction plays just understanding that the market moves from IRL to ERL, from fair value gaps to highs and lows, and especially when you're in a trending environment like this. So the last thing I'll say is I do think the market is still drawing higher right now. If you measure out standard deviations of this, 2 and 2.5s right here, 4 to 4.5s right here. If you measure out standard deviations of, let's see, what else can we measure? Of this, you get the same area, right? So I think the market is possibly drawing up to this area, 22,500-ish. This one's a good one to measure as well. Same idea, 22,500. They all kind of give that same vibe. Maybe we'll get a retracement in this area here. We'll see. But that is this week. Hopefully you found this helpful or useful. But the idea is, as we do this every week, we're just going to keep getting better and be able to understand the weeks in the future and the weeks to come. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.